My brothers and sisters, let me ask you something. Have you ever wondered why two people can grow up in the same neighborhood, attend the same school, face the same challenges, yet one ends up broke and the other becomes wealthy? It's not luck. It's not even education. It's programming. Most people never become wealthy because they've been conditioned to believe things about money that simply aren't true. From an early age, they've been told that money is the root of all evil, that wanting to be rich is selfish, or that only greedy people have wealth. These beliefs are deeply ingrained, repeated over time by parents, teachers, media, and even religious institutions. And because the human brain operates based on repetition, these messages become internal programming. The problem is, your external life will always follow your internal beliefs. If you believe money is bad, you will subconsciously repel it. If you believe rich people are dishonest, you'll subconsciously avoid becoming one. This is why the first step to wealth is to change your beliefs about money. Wealthy people don't see money as evil. They understand that money is simply a magnifier. It makes you more of who you already are. If you're kind, generous, and principled, money will allow you to express that kindness and generosity on a bigger scale. If you're greedy or unethical, money might amplify that too, but money itself is neutral. It's like fire. It can cook your food or burn your house down. The outcome depends on how you use it. To change your beliefs about money, you have to first become aware of the ones you already have. Ask yourself, what did I grow up hearing about money? What do I believe about wealthy people? Do I feel guilt or shame when I talk about wanting to be rich? Do I equate financial success with losing my integrity or abandoning my values? These questions help bring your hidden programming to the surface. Because you can't change what you're not aware of. Once you've identified those limiting beliefs, you need to actively replace them with empowering ones. Instead of believing that money is hard to get, believe that money flows easily to those who create value. Instead of thinking that only a few people can be rich, believe that there's more than enough to go around. Instead of assuming wealth is for other people, start believing you were created for abundance. These are not just empty affirmations. They are mindset shifts. Your thoughts shape your emotions. Your emotions shape your behavior. Your behavior produces your results. You must also surround yourself with new inputs. If your environment reinforces scarcity, change your environment. Read books written by wealthy people with high values. Listen to podcasts and mentors who talk about abundance, entrepreneurship, and legacy. Study the mindset and habits of people who have built wealth ethically. Programming happens through repetition and association. The more you hear empowering beliefs, the more they become part of your identity. Changing your beliefs isn't a one-time decision. It's a daily practice. Every time you catch yourself thinking a limiting thought about money, stop and replace it with the truth. Every time you feel guilt or fear about earning more, remind yourself that money simply gives you more options to serve, give, and live fully. The person who becomes rich isn't someone who got lucky. It's someone who reprogrammed their beliefs so thoroughly that their actions became aligned with abundance. The words you speak have power. They shape your reality, direct your decisions, and reinforce your identity. If you constantly speak from a place of lack, fear, or limitation, you'll live in alignment with those words. Most people don't realize that their language is programming their subconscious mind to stay broke. They casually say things like, "I can't afford that," "That's too expensive," or "I'll never be rich," without realizing those phrases aren't just observations. They're declarations. And every declaration plants a seed. Speak it often enough and it becomes a belief. Once it becomes a belief, it governs your behavior. That's why it's critical to use empowering, wealth-focused language. When you say, "I can't afford it," your brain shuts down. It stops looking for solutions and settles into resignation. But when you ask, "How can I afford it?" you trigger creativity. You activate the problem-solving part of your brain and open yourself to new ideas, new strategies, and new levels of resourcefulness. The difference between the two phrases is subtle, but the impact is enormous. One sentence limits you. The other stretches you. One makes you a victim of your circumstances. The other puts you in control. Another phrase that keeps people broke is "money isn't everything." Now, it's true that money isn't everything. But when people use that phrase, they usually say it to justify why they don't have any. It becomes a defense mechanism to stay comfortable in financial mediocrity. Instead of saying that, consider saying, "Money isn't everything, but it touches everything that matters." That's a more accurate and empowering perspective. It acknowledges the truth that money isn't the most important thing, but it plays a vital role in health, education, security, and influence. Your words are a mirror of your internal programming. If you speak scarcity, you reinforce scarcity. If you speak abundance, you create the conditions for abundance to show up in your life. This doesn't mean you lie or pretend things are perfect when they're not. It means you choose words that reflect possibility, not limitation. For example, instead of saying, "I'm broke," say, "I'm in a temporary cash flow crunch, and I'm working on new income strategies." That shift in language changes how you feel, how you think, and ultimately how you act. Your brain is always listening to what you say. When you repeatedly speak words of struggle or defeat, your mind begins to build that reality around you. But when you speak vision, faith, and purpose, your mind begins to align your behavior to make that reality happen. Wealth-minded people speak differently. They talk about opportunities, not obstacles. They talk about investments, not just expenses. They ask better questions. They don't ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "Will this create a return?" Changing your language is one of the fastest ways to change your life. But it requires awareness. You have to pay attention to the words you use when you talk about money, business, and your future. You have to stop using passive, disempowering phrases that reinforce being stuck. Every time you catch yourself speaking from lack, correct it. Not just for the sake of sounding better, but because your words are commands to your subconscious mind. This is why it's important to use language that's forward-looking and possibility-oriented. Instead of saying, "I don't know how to start a business," say, "I'm learning how to build a business." Instead of saying, "I'll never make that much money," say, "I'm becoming the kind of person who attracts wealth." Language like this aligns with the future you want, not the situation you're trying to escape. Wealth doesn't just come to those who work hard. It comes to those who speak as if it's already on the way. Wealth doesn't come from working hard alone. It comes from creating value. In today's world, money is simply an exchange of value. If you want more money, you must create more value. That means solving problems for people in a way that is meaningful to them. The bigger the problem you solve, the more value you create, and the more value you create, the more money you can earn. Most people spend their lives working hard doing things that don't create significant value. They trade their time for a paycheck instead of learning how to solve problems that people will pay generously to have fixed. Creating value starts with understanding what people need and being willing to meet that need. It could be a product that improves their life, a service that saves them time, or an idea that helps them grow. If you look at the wealthiest people in the world, They didn't get rich because they found a job that paid more per hour. They got rich because they found ways to provide massive value to large groups of people. Whether it's a business that simplifies communication, a platform that connects buyers and sellers, or a system that helps people achieve results faster, value creation is always the foundation of wealth. To create more value, you need to understand that value is not determined by you. It's determined by the marketplace. It doesn't matter how hard you work on something if no one wants it. Value comes from usefulness. It comes from relevance. It comes from your ability to solve a specific problem that people are already looking to solve. If you can solve a problem faster, easier, cheaper, or better than someone else, you become more valuable. And when you become more valuable, you increase your income potential. It's also important to note that value creation is not limited to one industry or one skill set. Whether you're a teacher, a technician, an artist, or an entrepreneur, you have the ability to increase your value by improving your skills, deepening your understanding of your audience, and delivering better outcomes. You are never stuck at your current level of value unless you stop growing. Every time you improve your ability to serve others, you increase your worth in the marketplace. Many people think that value is tied to effort, but that's not always true. You can put in a lot of effort doing something that no one values. That won't make you rich. What makes you rich is putting your effort into something that solves a meaningful problem. That's the difference between being busy and being effective. You want to focus on activities that create leverage. Leverage means doing something once that continues to provide value over time. For example, writing a book, building a course, or launching a product that serves thousands of people all at once. That's how value multiplies. And when value multiplies, income multiplies. You also have to stop thinking in terms of transactions and start thinking in terms of transformation. People don't pay for information, they pay for results. They don't pay for what you do, they pay for what happens after you do it. When you shift your mindset from being a worker to being a value creator, everything changes. You no longer just show up to do a task. You show up to make a difference. You're not just trying to get paid, you're trying to solve a problem, improve someone's life, or help a business grow. The more specialized your value, the more you can charge for it. General skills get general pay. Specialized skills solve unique problems, and those problems command higher compensation. If you want to program yourself to be rich, you have to train your mind to look for problems, see opportunities, and then position yourself as the person who can deliver the solution in a way that is unique, effective, and result-driven. One of the biggest traps that keeps people broke is trading time for money. It seems logical at first. You work a certain number of hours, and in exchange you get paid. But this model has a hard limit. There are only so many hours in a day. No matter how skilled or hardworking you are, if your income depends solely on your time, you will always have a ceiling on your earnings. That's the limitation of a time for money mindset. It creates a cycle where your income is tied to your presence and effort rather than your value or results. To become truly wealthy, you have to break out of this model and learn to create income that is not limited by time. People who achieve financial freedom understand that time is the most limited resource they have. They know they can't afford to keep trading it for a fixed wage. Instead, they look for ways to generate income that continues whether they're actively working or not. This could be through creating assets like businesses, digital products, intellectual property, or investments. The goal is to build something once that keeps producing income over time. That's what separates linear income from leveraged or passive income. One pays you once for your time, the other pays you many times for one effort. The time for money model also trains people to think small. It encourages a focus on hourly rates instead of total value delivered. When you think in terms of time, you're more likely to ask questions like how much do I get paid per hour, rather than how much value can I create with this project. This limits creativity and stifles innovation. On the other hand, people who break free from this model start thinking in terms of impact. They look for ways to scale their value, serve more people, and solve bigger problems, regardless of how much time it takes them personally. Shifting out of the time for money trap requires a change in mindset and a change in strategy. You have to start seeing yourself not just as a worker, but as a producer of value. You also need to be intentional about building systems and assets that allow your income to grow without requiring your constant input. This might mean automating parts of your business, hiring a team, licensing your knowledge, or investing in tools that do the work for you. At first, it might take more effort to build those systems, but once they're in place, they create freedom and scalability. Another key part of escaping the time for money model is understanding leverage. Leverage means using tools, people, or platforms to multiply your impact. If you can teach something to one person, that's helpful. But if you can teach it to 1,000 people through a video course, a webinar, or a book, your reach and income potential grow exponentially. You're still doing the teaching, but now it's happening without you having to be present every single time. That's the power of leverage. It allows you to separate your time from your income. Many people stay stuck in jobs they hate because they believe it's the only way to earn a living. But the truth is, the economy rewards value, not just effort. If you can create something valuable and deliver it to the right audience, your income can grow far beyond what's possible with hourly work. This is why entrepreneurs, investors, and creators have such a high income ceiling. They've learned how to build things that work for them instead of constantly working for someone else. The people who become wealthy are not necessarily the ones who work the hardest. They are the ones who understand how to create systems, assets, and value that continue to pay them whether they're working or not. They've broken the link between time and money and have built a new model, one where income is a result of strategy, not just sweat. The people you surround yourself with play a powerful role in shaping your mindset, your habits, and ultimately your results. Human beings are naturally influenced by the environment they're in. Thoughts, attitudes, and behaviors are contagious. If you're constantly around people who think small, complain about money, or believe wealth is unattainable, those beliefs will start to seep into your mind whether you realize it or not. Even if you have big dreams, being surrounded by people with limiting mindsets will pull you back into average thinking. On the other hand, if you surround yourself with people who think big, pursue success, and live with intention, their mindset will stretch you to new levels of possibility. Most people are a direct reflection of their peer group. If your closest friends are financially stressed, unmotivated, or always focused on lack, you will start to normalize that environment. You may not even notice that you've lowered your standards, the conversations you have, the goals you set, the risks you take. They're all influenced by the people around you. This is why it's so important to choose your circle intentionally. If you want to become wealthy, you need to be around people who talk about wealth creation, investments, growth, and legacy. You need to engage in conversations that challenge your old thinking and expose you to new opportunities. Being around success-minded people doesn't just change how you think. It also changes what you believe is possible for yourself. When you see someone close to you building a successful business, launching a new product, or closing a major deal. It makes your dreams feel more accessible. It removes the mental barrier that says, "People like me don't do things like that." You begin to see that wealth is not reserved for a select few. It's available to those who are willing to think differently, act boldly, and stay disciplined. One of the fastest ways to upgrade your mindset is to upgrade your environment. That means spending less time with people who drain your energy and more time with people who inspire and challenge you. This doesn't mean you cut everyone off, but it does mean you become more intentional about who you allow to speak into your life. You can't afford to have your vision shaped by people who have already given up on theirs. If you're the smartest or most motivated person in your circle, it's time to find a new circle. Growth happens when you're uncomfortable, and being around people who are operating at a higher level will force you to grow. Sometimes the influence you need won't come from your immediate network. That's where mentors, coaches, and digital communities come in. You can access the mindset of success-minded people through books, podcasts, mastermind groups, and online courses. Even if you can't be in the same room, you can still access their thinking. Immersing yourself in this kind of environment will begin to reprogram your subconscious beliefs. You'll start to adopt new language, set bigger goals, and think in terms of abundance instead of scarcity. The quality of your peer group doesn't just affect your mind, it affects your standards. If everyone around you is okay with mediocrity, you'll start to settle too. But if you're surrounded by people who are constantly pushing themselves, growing, and winning, you'll feel internal pressure to rise to the occasion. Success becomes your new normal. You stop making excuses and start finding solutions. You stop asking whether something is possible and start asking how to make it happen. That shift in attitude often starts with just one conversation, one relationship, or one room full of the right people. Building a wealth-minded network also gives you access to new resources. Opportunities don't just show up randomly. They often come through relationships. The right connection can introduce you to a new business idea, a potential investor, a key partnership, or a client that transforms your income. Programming your mind with intentionality means taking full control over the thoughts you allow, the beliefs you hold, and the narratives you repeat to yourself daily. Most people drift through life on autopilot, letting old habits, limiting beliefs, and outside opinions shape their decisions. They don't realize that their mind is like a computer, and if they don't consciously write the code, someone else will. This programming affects everything: how much money you think you deserve, how you respond to opportunity, how you deal with failure, and what kind of life you ultimately believe you can build. Intentional programming is about rewriting the script so that your thoughts support wealth, abundance, and progress instead of fear, lack, and limitation. Every thought is like a command. Repeated often enough, it becomes a default setting. If you keep thinking thoughts like "I'll never get ahead," or "I'm just not good with money," or "people like me don't become wealthy," your mind will find ways to make those thoughts true. It will filter opportunities through that lens. It will make decisions based on that identity, and it will attract results that align with that internal dialogue. The solution is to take those automatic patterns and reprogram them with new inputs, consciously chosen thoughts that align with the person you want to become. One of the most powerful tools for reprogramming your mind is visualization. When you vividly imagine the life you want to create with clarity and emotion, you begin to build neural pathways that prepare your brain to act as if that future is already happening. Visualization is not just a motivational tool. It's a scientific one. Athletes use it to improve performance. Top performers use it to gain confidence. Wealth builders use it to reinforce abundance thinking. The key is to be specific, consistent, and emotionally connected to the outcome you're imagining. Another tool for intentional programming is affirmations. Affirmations are not magic words, they're declarations that help reinforce a new identity. When spoken consistently and with conviction, affirmations start to shift your self-image. Instead of saying, "I'm broke," you begin saying, "I am a creator of wealth." Instead of saying, "I don't know what I'm doing," you say, "I learn quickly and I'm equipped to grow." The point isn't to pretend you have something you don't. It's to speak in alignment with the truth of who you're becoming. When your words reflect your vision, your brain begins to work toward making it real. Intentional programming also involves protecting your mental environment. That means being mindful of what you watch, what you read, and who you listen to. Every input has an effect. News headlines, negative conversations, and social media distractions can subtly reinforce fear, doubt, or comparison. You have to treat your mind like a garden. If you're not planting seeds on purpose, weeds will grow by default. Fill your mind with stories of success, teachings on wealth, and conversations that stretch your thinking. Your mental diet is just as important as your physical one. It's also important to align your behavior with your new programming. Thoughts alone won't change your life if your actions still reflect the old patterns. If you say you believe in abundance but keep making decisions based on fear or scarcity, your mind won't fully buy in. But when your actions match your beliefs, when you invest in yourself, set big goals, take calculated risks, and stay committed, your new programming gets reinforced. Over time, this alignment creates momentum. Your identity shifts, your confidence grows, and your results begin to reflect your intentions. Reprogramming your mind is not a one-time event. It's a daily discipline. You have to constantly be aware of the internal conversations happening in your head. You must monitor your thoughts the way a developer reviews code, looking for bugs, rewriting faulty scripts, and upgrading the system to perform better. Every thought you allow, every belief you adopt, and every decision you make is either reinforcing your wealth identity or weakening it.